Steve and Jill here.
Hello.
Welcome to the Land Academy Show, entertaining land investment talk. I'm Steve and Jack Butala.
And I'm Jill DeWit, broadcasting from sunny Southern California.
Today, Jill and I interview member Laurie Phillips. Laurie, welcome.
Thank you.
Give us just a little introduction, and then we'll take this question. Tell us like where you are and whether or not you're happy to be here at all.
All right. Well, I live in Richmond, Virginia, and I've been here for a while, and happy to be here. I know that we've talked before, and some of the things I'm doing in my business, which is not very old, is they're a little different than what some other people do. So might be interesting to hear what you think about it.
I can't wait to hear. Everybody who's different in this group seems to do extremely well. You know, you take the basic stuff that we offer and the environment
make it your own.
Yeah,
totally.
Exactly. Hey, before we get into it though, let's take a question posted by one of our members on the landinvestors.com online community. It's free.
Brandon asks, I'm a new member based in Atlanta, Georgia, 3 weeks old, and I'm trying to choose a market and ultimately do my first mailer in Alabama. I'm considering the following counties: low population density, but near a city; low population density and days on market less than 100 days. I've searched the forum. They've searched, and the forum doesn't seem to have much conversation or topics about Alabama. Can anyone speak to their experience working in Alabama or any of these counties?
You know, Laurie, I chose this question because you actually answered it in the forum, I think, better than I ever would have answered it. So do you remember this question?
I don't.
That's great. You want to take a shot at it?
Why don't you go ahead and read what I wrote? No, I answer a lot of questions in the forum. I really enjoy it, and they make me think. So I don't recall this one. Go for it.
What you said was, Steve spends a lot of time addressing this topic, and maybe you should listen to him. I'm paraphrasing. I'll find the question, though.
That's awesome. That's hilarious. Trying to find it here.
Here it is.
Whole
We got
place.
it.
There we go.
You want to read it, Jill?
Laurie wrote,
This is
hi,
what Laurie
Brandon.
says.
This is good. Hi, Brandon, and welcome. I'm pretty new too. This was months ago. And a lot of overthinking. And after a lot of overthinking, should I mail to this particular vacation county, even though it's 5 hours from a population area, etc.? I went back to Land Academy 1.0 and followed Steve's instructions exactly for picking a new county. I decided being new wasn't the right time to be creative. His process didn't involve minute analysis. Just pick a county, follow the process, have some data support your choices, and mail. That's what I did. But you may have more knowledge of the areas or of REI in general. So take what I say above with your experience in mind. Let me keep going.
She goes on to say, a couple of the real clear messages here, and I can concur exactly. Get the education under your belt, get a mailer or two under your belt, and adjust and do the research. But you got to get it out the door.
Right.
The truth is, I have to get a mailer out the door, and I'm 2 days late on it.
Yes, he is.
So that's just
that's true.
So it happens to everybody. Today's topic: interview with member Laurie Phillips. This is the meat of the show. All right, I can't wait to hear it. Laurie, when did you join? What's your experience been? And then how did you veer off in your own direction?
All right. Well, I joined in beginning of October of last year, 2019. And I went through the education programs and I thought about things way too long. However, and so I didn't get my first mailer out until about 5 weeks after I started. But one of the things I did was in the very first video that you did, you said, open an account on Craigslist and put up this listing. And I did exactly that because I'd already decided, I'm not in this to try it out. I'm in this because I really want to do this. And I'm going to commit as much as it takes to make that happen. So I went ahead, I opened a Craigslist account, stuck the ad up there exactly the way you wrote it, bought 3 properties. off it. I brought 3 properties, I think, before I had even listened twice to the Jill's, inbound caller script. I had no idea what I was doing. And fortunately, the people that I bought them from were so nice and motivated. And, it just kind of went from there. So I got my first couple mailers out, and they were small. They were not, now I look at it and say they weren't very significant, but I did buy a couple pieces of property from them. And in one case, I bought a 5-acre piece of land and a 10-acre piece of land from a woman for $5,000. And they sold together for $161,000.
Oh my God.
So I didn't figure out the rate of return on that one, but I think it's good enough.
I think that'll work.
Yeah. Well, it's in the thousands.
That's
of
hilarious.
points.
Yeah. It was an area I knew it would take a little while because it was such highly valued property, but there weren't many properties in that area on the market. One mistake I made with that mailer is I mailed to the county before I checked to see what county data was available online. And now I don't mail anywhere where I can't get the county GIS, county taxes, and deeds available online. It just makes life so much easier. Mm-hmm. So what I had to do there was I spent a lot of time on the phone with the people in the county, and they were wonderful. They went, found things, they emailed them to me, they charged me, under $10 per document to send them to me. And I figured out that from now on, I wanted those things readily available. But another thing I did was I went to a title company to talk to them about these properties. And they went through, I don't know, probably 14 or 15 emails to me, educating me on how to deal with properties that are joint tenants, where one person dies, properties where it's unclear who the heir is supposed to be for it. And even though they never got the deal to close the property with us, they were just wonderful to deal with. So I'm hugely in favor, and you'll see me write about this all the time. Pick up the phone, call the experts. So many people waste so much time looking for the answer online, and all you have to do is pick up the phone and call the county. You're not interrupting their day. That's why they're there. Mm-hmm. So that's it. And there were people that I called when I was new who were just experts in real estate in different areas, and they love to talk and love to, educate me on different areas. So that's been really helpful too.
It's true.
You have the aptitude and the attitude and the adapt and overcome, just the way that you're going about this, that all the members in our advanced group have. Mm-hmm. And we usually choose advanced group members based on how much mail they've sent and their contribution and all that. So, but I'm going to go off. I got pre-approval to invite you to the advanced group today if you'd like to join us.
Well, thank you. Did Jill give you that pre-approval?
No, it wasn't me.
Oh, no, it's...
I didn't. I'm like...
Oh, no, Jill and I have no idea what goes on in any of the companies we own at all. I had to ask people that know this stuff. I'll tell you, the truth is, I was trying to explain this to somebody recently. The companies that we have 2 companies that Jill and I we work in and day out, and it's the land. Mm-hmm. They're 2 land companies.
Right.
The ones where we buy and sell the land. Jill and I still just do that back, the roots of it. But as far as Land Academy goes and all of that, we have a lot of other people handling most of that. Not all of it. We have a couple meetings a week and that's it. And I got a very appreciative and positive approval to invite you to the group.
Not that I would disagree at all, Laurie. It's just like, it's not my decision.
But the one characteristic that you just confirmed it, and I didn't know, but you confirmed it, is that the people in the advanced group that are doing a lot of deals have a background in talking. They have some version of business owners already. They have a sales background. They get on the phone. This is why Jill makes us so successful. She gets on the phone and just talks with people, and she just gets what she wants. And it's not pre-planned. It's just, that's just who she is. Mm-hmm. you obviously have it too. So congratulations.
Yeah, it's funny, Laurie. Like I can understand too. Like you get them talking sometimes, and then you can't get off the phone. I'm like, okay, this is great. You know, it's almost like I didn't want to know that much about the area. He's telling me about, you know, the new churches that are coming or whatever's going on in the area, or the new crops. Who knows? You know, what's coming in, and the Amazon called or whatever. I don't. That's really great. But it's so funny. Sometimes they talk and talk and talk.
So you know I'm going to ask you this question next. What's different about you? You know, what advice would you give to somebody who's starting out? What's different about you? How can you buy a $5,000 deal and turn it into $160,000?
Luck in that case, but because I've yet to have that repeat. But I've spent a lot of time reading the forum when I was new, and someone wrote in the forum at one point that they had skipped the whole Desert Square phase and gone right to buying more expensive property. And I skipped the Desert Square phase and went right to, I think the cheapest property I had made an offer on at the time was about probably $2,500. And so I was able to turn a profit of, 3 times that easily. Mm-hmm. And since then, I bought some smaller properties, mainly because I found through some of my research that people sell smaller properties at a higher volume than they sell larger properties. It's easier to find sellers of smaller properties. But I buy them if I can turn them over for about 4 times what I paid them.
Amazing. We're buy for 30 and sell for 90 right now.
Yeah.
In general, that's the target that we're going for. The mailer that I'm going to complete today is about maybe 12 counties total. Jill and I are in the middle of a contest to see who much can make the most money.
Yeah.
And
that's the mailer I'm waiting on.
That's the template. Which is strange because I'm going to do her mailer, right, and I'm going to go do my own mailer.
Exactly.
So it's just the opportunity for me to win this contest over Jill is enormous.
Yeah. We're each picking our own areas for different reasons.
I hope you win, because I win in the end.
And who's gonna price Jill's deals?
He is.
She's going to approve it though.
But I'm going to bless it at the end. But I went in,
okay.
I told him, the area that I told him exact counties that I wanted. I told him the sizes that I wanted and pretty much how I want to go at it. So he's just kind of doing the busy work for me.
I'm spending what turned out now to be days pricing, because there's a lot of different counties. Well, how much time do you spend on pricing?
I used to spend a lot of time on pricing, but I had the tremendous fortune this summer of having a bunch of interns working for me. And what happened was, as you know, a lot of jobs fell apart that people had expected to have for whatever duration. And a lot of college kids were left without internships. And this happened a little bit after I started looking for one intern, and ended up finding kids with just incredible resumes and couldn't decide between 1 and 2, so hired them both, and then started getting hundreds of responses to ads that I put out there, even after I'd hired people. So ended up hiring 9.
Wow.
And they are doing a ton of research for us right now. They're researching everything from our past performance and what made a successful mailer, what made successful, profitable properties that we bought. And that's everyone who's ever sent a mailer has that information. I mean, you have how many rows of RealQuest data that you get that if you go back and look at what's in common, across them, you can find similarities. You can find areas then where you want to target more properties with those certain characteristics and owners with those certain characteristics. They're even taking it as far as, Jill, don't listen to this, it's going to bore you. They're taking it as far as looking at the economies of the places where the owners live to see how they respond to offers as well.
Mm-hmm.
So economies like census tract data or local last week economy?
Last week.
Amazing.
So detailed and local.
I have to thank you, Laurie. I appreciate that. It was funny. I was on a webinar yesterday all about this. It was put on by BizNow. I don't know if you're in those email groups and things and the stuff they put out. Anyway, it was a whole discussion on predictability, and they're coming up with this data product, this one company, which is basically most likely to sell. And so like that's kind of what you're looking at too, based on past property experience, demographics, and then other triggers so I am kind of interested.
I mean, that brings up this point, the amount of data. So we are all swimming in assessor data and manipulating it and using it very successfully, specifically, people in the group and many, many, many other people that are just listeners. The types of data sets, the metadata that we're collecting that will become available, and you're obviously paving the way here to make these decisions easier and more prevalent, are just amazing. Like, what were you telling me? There are some data sets that were being discussed on that webinar that were surprising me.
Right.
Like local economy data, local current economy data.
Right. We know one of the things too was really kind of funny I took away from that was their data, that one of there's of the top two that they use is these pros is CoreLogic. I'm like, and then it was funny. The facilitator of the call said, "Hey, you guys, one of the things I run into in my business, it's all real estate, is contact information." And she wouldn't divulge that. I'm like, "Oh, that's hilarious."
You mean like Neighbor Scoop?
Yes. She wouldn't divulge, how they're getting. And I'm like sitting there going, wow. And I'm sure it's not nearly as good as what we have, with what we put together to have the, property address, owner address, phone numbers, and all this.
I grew up in an environment where
we have that.
From the Midwest, where no one talked about anything. And all I was ever taught professionally and socially was don't talk to anybody, keep all close to your vest.
That's what they're doing.
Don't share any data, mind your own business, make your own decisions. And I came out here and it was exactly the opposite. Yeah. In early 90s in Arizona. And I like this way better. Well, I think the more stuff that we share, I just think it creates more business.
Well, it's funny. I think it's an East Coast company. That one, the head analyst was like in New Jersey, and they're not sharing anything. And I'm like, we have all that.
The .com model is free first. And if you're really into it, then pay. I love that.
Exactly.
So I have to ask you, Laurie, can you share some of the results some of the similar statistics about properties or mailers that worked?
Yeah.
Well, like I said before, the smaller properties, really $2,000 to $6,000 offers are the ones most likely to be accepted. And obviously, economies that are hurting are, Detroit all the time. And now that you left, Steve, there's no income there, right?
No, I had no income when I was there either. I was in
Yeah.
No, but where owners live, where the economy is harsh, that's another area where it's good to mail. They don't have to be bankrupt. They don't have to be in foreclosure. Don't have to be tax deficient. They just need to be living in an area where they feel some threat to their, financial stability. So that's a good target as well. But one of the things we do, in addition, having insurance, I don't think is unique, but one of the things we do is we focus on, I'll call it the emerging technologies and the effect that's going to have on land use and people's ability to spread out. And so we look at things like where Hyperloop is most likely to affect things, and Gigafactory and the effect that's had on the economy, and Lilium with flying cars, and graphene, which is a formerly very, very expensive compound that allowed Jill, stop listening, that allowed This is going to bore you to death. It makes solar incredibly efficient. And as solar becomes more efficient, it drives the cost of energy down. So when the cost of energy goes down, where do you want to live? Well, anywhere you can get solar, right? And with zero cost of energy. And all of these things together they're not just coming, but they're here. They're here on small volumes. So as that volume increases, all of a sudden people will realize that they can live in DC. If they need to be in LA, they can be in LA in a few hours without getting on a plane. And a lot of the things that have come up recently with people wanting to work at home, wanting to be distant from other people, will be enabled by these technologies. So what's that have to do with land? Having those things lets people spread out and live wherever they want to be. That's number one. Number two is it takes away a lot of the inconvenience of living remotely, where you don't have utilities now, where it's hard to get groceries, where, all of those things are factors. To some people, it's, having a weekend place 2 hours away is wonderful, but 6 hours away is just not doable, right? So you're going to have to change your program to get rid of the 1 hour from a city thing, because as these technologies really develop, you can live anywhere, and people will want to. It's already obvious that they're happy to get out of Dodge when they can. So
I'm trying to think back in my career if I've ever had to explain the benefit of living a rural lifestyle to anybody who's ever bought land from us, ever.
Right.
You're saying that all this stuff, and I'm wondering if you utilize that in your posting when you go to sell the property. Do you educate potential buyers in all this?
One of the things we do is we look for buyers who both understand this and want to buy the land as an investment. So we want people to look at it the same way we do and see that, there's wherever Tesla's built a gigafactory, there's been enormous, obvious, collateral benefit to them having that factory. But so they may look at it as an investment, saying, yeah, I want to own that land in advance of that being the place where they put their next one, or in advance of the place where a Hyperloop station is going to be located. Yep. And but also for people that don't care about that at all, but they want to live remotely and they don't want to have to drive 3 hours to Walmart. And so those technologies that are coming will make it easier for them to not have to do it. There's a video on our website that kind of describes and demonstrates how these technologies affect people that live remotely, including things like 3D houses that are built by 3D printers. You can get those today. And as long as you can get the printer to the location to build it, they're pretty cool. Yeah. Pretty neat.
I've seen videos on that too. It's amazing to watch.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing to see layers of a house being built on a huge frame.
Yep.
So you're a marketer. You've chosen a niche, a pretty serious niche, I think, and you're marketing toward that group that understands that stuff.
The smart people with money.
With dough.
With smart people with money, yeah. Well, we have, we both provide funding to other people, other investors, and we have other investors provide us money to operate. And the people that we provide funding to, we do it differently. From what I've been told, no one else does it the way we're doing it. We take on all the data work. So we do all the downloads, the scrubbing, putting the letters in the mail. And our partners do all the buying and selling, all the interaction with the customer. They come back to us with a signed contract that's going to title. And then reverse, same thing on the back end. So what that does is it gives us both skin in the game on where we mail and the kind of deals, the sizes of deals. So it's very much a partnership. And we have a sliding scale of percentage profits split that based on how quickly the property sells. So, but we don't do it for everybody. We have, we're very selective about who we'll work with. And we want investors who are experienced, who we know to some degree, and we know what they like to buy, and we know their personalities, because you know how this works. Success is based on your attitude.
Absolutely.
And if you're half-heartedly committed or you're not really yet committed, you're not going to do it nearly as well as someone who knows that what this can do and really wants to make it happen. So
very, very unique approach. I'm so glad to this
I say once again, I am blown away by what our little thing. We are right. I have to check the date, Laurie, but we're somewhere right around now is exactly 5 years of the launch of Land Academy. It may even be today. Wow. I got to look it up. I think it's like that 20 something, but I'm just like, can't believe in 5 years where this is gone and what people like you are doing with this. And I'm just like, so happy.
So how do you see this? I mean, you obviously are looking, I think, 10 to 20 years in the future. How do you see it changing? Are you constantly looking for new technologies that can add to this concept that you have about where you choose to send mail?
We are looking for new technologies, and some of them are pretty esoteric, like the whole idea of graphene changing the ability of solar. And as you know, even as the oil pipelines dry up because of the price of oil crash. Sorry, Jill, price of oil crash.
I love how Laurie does that. So just say like maybe whistle when I should come back in or something.
I've listened to so many of your podcasts. I listen to them in the kitchen. I listen to them in the car, in the gym, and I've learned so much. And I know so many people have said the same thing. So I hope you keep doing it.
Thank you.
Great. But are you going to listen to this one?
Yeah.
Probably not.
I can't listen to myself either. Even to this day, I just can't.
That's so
unless it's like short editing, but I can't listen to it all the way through.
Yeah, I know it's always out there. If I have a day when I'm really bored, I can listen to it. But anyway, as oil pipelines dry up, we'll be able to use them for water. And the same infrastructure. We wouldn't use the same pipe, but the same fundamental infrastructure could be used for water. So think about where that can take water where it isn't right now. So yeah, we're looking at it long term, and we're both buying property that we're going to hold for the long term, and buying property that appeals to people with the same sense that we do, as well as people who just say, get me out of here and want to buy something right now.
Fascinating.
So you're in this for obviously the long haul. What did you do? Well, I don't think you shared your background before this. What were you doing before the whole investment?
I don't think you were homeless.
Yeah.
I have started. I think this is my 11th company that I've started over the years.
Oh.
And they've ranged from technology consulting to software development to interior painting to selling stuff on eBay to a nonprofit I started for veterans. And it's a long list, and they're varied. But my father had always invested in land, and I was interested in it, and I kept saying, I'll get around to it. It's something I know I want to do. So one day I was shopping for land and looking for some land out in Colorado, and I found these listings on this website called Landpin. And there was a guy who had 5 different properties, all the same size and all in the same area. And it was an area I knew. And I called him and said, what's the difference between these? I'm looking at them, I'm thinking about buying something, but I can't figure out how they're different. And I started talking to him and said, how did you end up with these properties? And he said, well, I'm a member of Land Academy, and this is what Land Academy does. So the short version is, he didn't get the sale, but you did.
Thank you.
Wow.
That's cool.
There's a compliment in there somewhere.
Thank
I appreciate
you.
that.
And this obviously sung to you. You're obviously a data person, and it's amazing what you're working on. I want to read your reports now.
Yeah, I'm going to go check it all out too.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, and before that, I had a brief stint in where I was an employee, actually a partner in a Big Four consulting firm, which didn't suit my personality that much. So, and I was always the best boss I'd ever had, and finding myself in that environment wasn't, it just didn't work that well for me. So I have, but the great thing is a number of the companies that I've had, and the position I had in that firm was evaluating startups. And I would, so when it came to due diligence for this, the process to me is probably more grueling than it is for most people. And the investors I work with have learned how to deal with that and what I want from them before they bring me a property. So
the hard way.
But the nice thing is,
mad.
no, they never make me mad. They make me very happy, as a matter of fact. But when I send something to title, I'm not worried about it anymore. Mm-hmm. I know what I'm getting, and so that's great.
So how does this business that you have now, obviously it's some version successful, how does it line up from an efficiency standpoint to all the other ones that you were involved in the past?
I've always found that the more people I involve in a business, the more efficient it is and the more effective it is. I can do 2 brains together is worth 3 as opposed to just 2. So I have, and I've learned over the years to listen more. And that's been really important. Like I said, get on the phone and call people, but also find people you can team up with. And I'm part of an accountability group that you're familiar with. That's I think there's more than 6 of us, but there's only 6 of us that are regulars. And we meet once a week for an hour. And we go through and share what we've done that week. But we've also started in the last month to have each person pick a topic that's their specialty and do a presentation for the group on that topic for the hour. So we're kind of putting together, as we called it, a book of secrets for being successful. And for instance, I did the data side, how to find stuff in RealQuest when you think you can't really find it. Mm-hmm. And the fast way to scrub data. And I can take, I don't know, probably 5,000 records and scrub it in 2 hours at the tops, and it's done, and price it in another half hour and it's done. And that's working at the zip code levels. So, which is typically where I price it. Mm-hmm. So I want to get better at it, at doing it based on the PLSS map, but that's something that I'll look forward to. So
that's great.
But so I did that part, and then someone else did the how to interact with sellers, and someone else did working with the title companies and title close and self-close. So altogether, I mean, the group is just tremendously valuable really adds on to what Land Academy has done.
Awesome.
That's great. I mean, that's what's supposed to happen.
Exactly.
That makes me, we're going to get off this call and hug each other.
Yeah.
That's what our goal was. Mm-hmm. Our whole goal was to just kind of give back and help people. It was a real funny, in a funny way, a struggle for us the first year of Land Academy to communicate that this works. Mm-hmm. Every day we would put up with some stuff about that's the most ludicrous idea I've ever heard.
These numbers can't be real.
Blind mailers to people.
Yeah. For
less than their property's worth. It was something that was so natural to me, and I've been doing it since the early 90s. Yeah. It's funny where it's gotten. Like I'm sure this show will be, the numbers on the show will be, mm-hmm. You're confirming my point is you're confirming in a huge way what I knew this could be. Thank you.
Well, I've got to tell you, a lot of the posts that more experienced members have put on the forums and on Facebook, where they say, here was my experience. I was almost broke, but I almost spent all the money I'd allocated for mailers. And then these things started happening. If you do it the way you say to do it, it works. It just works. We found that in our research that the offers most likely to be accepted were priced between 18.9% and 31% of retail. Mm-hmm. That's the range. So, and the majority of that data is recent. So, the 18 to 22% is a good target.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I have to ask you now, how do you determine retail value in a very rural area?
Well, usually we take a combination of Realtor, Redfin, Zillow, and Zone.
Excellent.
And throw that together, come up with the lowest, and then we'll do a percentage of that. The tricky part is always sorting out which listings are wholesalers, people flipping land.
Right.
But after a while, that's not very hard to figure out.
Sure.
You can figure it out.
I mean, I'd say I just remove the bottom 10% and usually the top 10% or some version of that, and look at it like a bell curve and just make the curve a little tighter.
Yep. Yep.
It's awesome.
Super interesting.
I'm so happy we did this. Thank you. This has been awesome. Any last question? Anything you want to ask us, or I don't know. So I was figuring out today when I look at my mailers, if people say, well, how many letters do you mail a month and that kind of thing? Well, this month we'll probably send out about 14 or 15,000 letters because in addition to doing research, our interns are also doing mailers and social media and website, and we've got a couple being just assistants. And I don't really count letters. I like to look at the total dollar value of offers. Oh. So I figured out, first shot, I figured out, okay, so we've made more than $1 billion worth of offers. And then I thought about it and said, I wonder what Steve and Jill have done. How many dollars worth of offers? Could you cover the national deficit with your offers?
Maybe a couple of years ago we could have, but not now.
Wow, but just in the lifetime, if we.
Oh man!
Wow, I'm curious what that number is.
How I do mailers now is very different than how I did.
It's crazy.
Did them, in 2002 and even before that. So because RealQuest is really different, so it's possible to go back and really add them up.
That's
literally,
cool.
But the data's all over the place, so it's a lot.
We should do that.
We probably sent out 20 million offers.
I'm gonna check. I'm gonna go back. It's too easy to go back and look real quick. We that like in fall, we did that 17,000 unit LA County, multi-tenant possible mailer. There's a chunk of change in those offers.
Those are $1 million to $2 million offer each. Price. And
it was 17,000, I think, units.
There are two runs on that. I bet that hit $1 billion.
That's pretty fun, Laurie. I want to look at that right now.
I know.
Just what's the total at the bottom that I'm offering, just to kind of,
Well, I always look at that number and look at the average offer. And, I thought at first, $1 billion, that sounds like a lot, until I figured out that we're mailing about 220 to $230 million worth of offers a month. Mm-hmm. So I'll hit probably another $3 billion worth of mailers this year.
That's cool.
And then what's your
isn't that fun? I love that.
Cool. Yeah. I like that.
All right. Now I got to ask you, what do you think you spent acquisition? Well, you probably know the exact number. What have you spent acquisition wise since you started? And then how much have you sold? If you're comfortable sharing these numbers, if you're not, I totally understand.
I actually don't know those numbers.
Oh, I'm sorry. Your bank account's just getting too big to keep track of.
No, it's not that so much as, I know we've done 55 deals, and those really started in November of last year, so in 7 months. And we've done, it came out to be about 1.65 million in gross profit in that time.
Excellent.
But we've been running about 30% overhead, and probably a little higher right now as we're putting more infrastructure into place, because for a long time I was kind of winging it. I did my own website. I was doing everything, and gradually I've realized over time that spending some money, there's the penny wise and pound foolish thing, and spending some money where it gives me time back makes sense. So I got a call service involved and got help for doing some, admin stuff, and that offloaded it. But then this move to bringing in interns that can take, just days worth of work and get it done in 24 hours is perfect.
What's the training curve on interns for you?
Well, they started on Tuesday after Memorial Day, and that Friday they sent out their first round of mailers.
That's great.
That's impressive. It's getting me thinking about our own operation.
Yeah.
So you've found some bright kids.
Very, very, very bright kids. Yeah. Awesome. And hard workers, and they get it. And the great thing is they've learned a skill that they're doing for us, but they can turn around and keep, they can join an academy when they leave us and do it while they're in school.
Exactly.
I mean, that's just it. Like, and I'm sure hopefully you've experienced that, earlier in your life. I know I have. I'm having these irreplaceable experiences in commercial real estate environment that I brought to this. I brought those big commercial real estate. I worked for two huge commercial real estate companies that had at that time seemingly endless resources, and so I got to try a lot of new stuff. I actually brought the data concept to them, and then we were sending faxes out. So faxed offers at the time. This is before email. So, man, you're paying it forward. I respect that. I think a lot of people would say, well, I'm not going to share these secrets with anybody. Right. And so that's good.
Well, they're not really secrets. Everyone has the data, and you probably find out the same things from looking at it. The hard part is finding the time to do it. I don't know about you, but my to-do list just gets rewritten the next day with new stuff, and I ignore yesterday's that I didn't.
Yep.
You do a little module
Very
on
familiar with that.
The live event every year now, and people like it for whatever reason. I do a module on organization and moving things to the next day, not down.
Yeah.
If you move them down, they just go away. You got to move it like that.
Yeah. I got to tell you, there was a podcast where Jill mentioned the book, The One Thing.
Yes.
Do you recall that?
I do.
And do you remember Steve's response to it?
Do not.
What was it?
I forgot.
It was effectively, that's ridiculous. Don't do one thing. You have to do everything.
Right.
And, but the thing is, there's a few books that have been really influential for me, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, a 4-Hour Work Week, are a couple. And The One Thing is another one, which I'm not going to bother explaining it in this amount of time, but it's definitely worth reading, because it tells you, don't get up in the morning from your desk until you've gotten that thing done that's going to move you ahead the most.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And once you've done that, it's easy.
Exactly. It's very true.
It's really, Steve. Yeah, it's worth reading.
And I love it.
This is why we're partners. This is good. We each bring different things to the table.
That's right.
It's great.
That's right.
Laurie, it's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
The same here. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Do you have any advice for new people before we do the closing here?
Yeah, I have to say, when I got started, I wasn't sure that it would work if I didn't have your personalities.
Oh.
If I didn't have Jill's, skills on the phone and dealing with people, and being so sweet and getting killer deals at the same time. And if I didn't have Steve's sense of, really being able to master the data and make pricing so simple and that I would have that kind of result. And what I discovered was I am neither of you, and I'm sure I don't have skills anywhere near what both of you have in any way, but I've been able to, it's worked for me. But it's worked for me because I just stopped trying to be creative and I just followed the directions.
It's fantastic. It sounds to me like you've got my half licked. No one can do what Jill does, but I think the data part, I don't know, that's just my take on it. When you're good at something, it seems easy. I don't know why.
It does. That is very easy for me. That's the part that's easy for me.
Oh, thank you, Laurie.
Thanks very much, Laurie. It was great talking with you.
The Land Academy show remains commercial free for you, our loyal listener. So wherever you're watching, wherever you're listening, please subscribe and rate us there.
We're Steve and Jill. Information
and inspiration
to buy undervalued property. Okay, so we're out. I mean, that was amazing. I'm sure that you're just going to get this thing to, we try to net $2 million a year, between 2 and 5, just on real estate. All the other stuff is separate. Mm-hmm. And we've hit it since we've been together. We hit it. But I mean, what's your long term? I mean, you got to shooting for the fence now.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, I started out saying I wanted to hit 50 million in 5 years. And that was before I had other investors' money coming in to help fund what I'm doing. So with that, I think that's probably very low. I think double would be easy.
Yep.
So 50 million net?
50 million net.
I'd probably do double.
Right.
50 million net.
That's cumulative? That's not a year, right? That's cumulative?
That's per year.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Which means, if you think about it, that's not residential deals anymore. That's getting into some bigger stuff. And what I really like is industrial space for warehouses.
Me too.
And that's a thing now, by the way. We know that industrial and tech.
Yeah. So
I've been researching converting office buildings, because I think they're becoming obsolete, into condos or apartments.
Mm-hmm. Ooh, nice.
A lot about that.
New company?
Yeah.
No, I think I'd probably sell what I would like to do is locate the asset, buy it under duress, and then package it up like you are with the energy component or the alternative use component.
Like plans.
And say, this is what's possible.
There you go. Here's the guy.
We all know how easy it is to move an office building walls around and change all that stuff. Why not just make it a hotel or an apartment building?
Are you talking about tall or short buildings?
The ones that are Class B, maybe even Class A, they're empty. They're empty now and probably never going to get full. Yeah. So because of all this, and hopefully, I don't know, we'll see. It depends on what the data comes up with and where, how much of an exodus there is out of these big cities. I don't think it's going to be crazy like everybody says, but I do think it's going to be significant enough to do something about it.
Yeah. I think if anything, for office environments, it's going to turn out to be more of a campus and less of a building. Right. And, where people can spread out. But the reason I asked about height of the building is I had some friends years ago who bought a 2-story building and put solar panels across the roof and sold it back to the power company and ended up making money on their building, even, so more than covering their mortgage on it. And we're able to turn around and buy another building and do the same thing. But they said really anything above a certain height becomes squat. And you want something that's spread out so that you can do that. And as solar becomes more efficient, you're producing a lot more power that you can both sell back and use. So if you think about it, who are the tenants that want and are going to need a lot of power?
Computer people.
Yeah. So data centers, that kind of place.
What state was that in? Because in California, there's a severe limit on what you can sell back.
That was in Georgia.
Okay.
Savannah.
That's cool.
Arizona, there's a severe limit too. And it's
on what you can sell back? Really?
Yeah. But at that, my numbers are, this thought might just be for residential. I don't know what commercial can sell back. Because I did all the math on this when we used to live on Fifth Street, and we had a guy in our group who was a solar panel expert.
I remember that guy.
He was trying to get out of the business.
Shucks, the Florida
guy. And yeah, I'm going to contact him. I think he's still a member.
Yeah, he was there.
Whatever he's doing, he's doing it now really successfully, and he's just not loud about it in our group anymore.
Yeah, him and his wife were there. It's super, super neat. Cool.
But
yeah, we're looking.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, we're looking at putting some kind of structures on the property too as we buy it and before we sell it, because, like a cabin or mobile or something like that, which is why I asked you about a mobile for those properties that we were looking at. And, I think I think it would make it easier to sell.
I think that's going to be how we do almost every deal, especially in this. That's my secret about how I'm going to win this contest, is to drop some type of structure, even if it's just
anything.
We just dropped a $5,000 mobile home on it. Don't connect it to anything and say, knock yourself out and figure it out. There's a bajillion people out there that love that DIY stuff. So, I agree with you completely. And I hope the more rural you get, the easier it is to do alternative septic or whatever it is.
I have my own secret weapon that I will share after.
You shared mine.
I know.
Oh, come on.
I know. Hey, how much do you pay these interns, by the way?
They get, some of them are paid a fixed amount for the summer, and some are paid a commission on their, on the deals we get. And we pay them as the deals come in. When we get it in, we send it to title and we figure out what we're going to price it for. We give them 20% of our profit.
That's a lot.
You're a creative.
It's a lot.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
You're creating heroin addicts.
I know.
You're going to stick that needle in their arm. It's never going to go out.
Yeah.
It's not a bad thing, is it?
No, it's great.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So yeah, they've been wonderful. So.
Hey, I might air this little after talk. I might air it if it's okay with you. If it's
sure.
not, I'll cut it. Okay.
No, I don't know. Have I said it? No.
I don't think so. We're good.
I think we're good. Yeah.
All right.
Well, I'm hoping to get to the live event.
Yes.
Good.
It's actually on my list of things to work on this week. I've got to
We have a meeting
put
on
the
this at the
agenda
end
together. Hey, let me ask you real quick, Laurie. If you could brainstorm, because this will help me out, what would you want to get out of the live event?
I would love to hear what the other members who are doing other stuff are doing. I mean, we know the basics. I mean, anyone so go beyond the training and talk about people who are doing, just mountaintop properties, or people who are actually building something on the property before they sell it. And the rezoning part, I know some people are really getting into rezoning. I've been through rezoning once with a residential property, and it was not only long, painstaking, it was boring. So
It's awful.
Yeah, we avoid that too.
We have the control about what we buy now. And so if you just buy agricultural property, you can do anything with it.
Right.
Yeah.
In most places.
Right.
So that kind of stuff, as well as, people who are looking at alternative uses for the property that might be buying it and selling it to someone who, I'll just use billboards for an example. I know billboards aren't a, slam dunk, but I've seen properties. Someone brought me a piece of property the other day that was this little tiny strip between a rest area exit ramp and the access road that ran alongside it, and said, what's it zone? What can we do with it? It might be worth the couple $1,000s that the property was for. It's not going to be residential, but, for just, kind of do Land Academy 3.0 stuff like that, beyond the basic buying and selling.
Could be a niche, cover some of the possible niches.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And maybe even the topic of data. I'll tell you what, the greatest thing about the interns going through putting a mailer together was that they could bitch about all the things that were incredibly painful to do, like finding the right county and pulling the right data from RealQuest. You know what? They probably downloaded, 10,000+ records from RealQuest for the wrong thing. I told them to save their searches.
Yep.
But they thought that meant export and save the file. It's like,
Whoops.
So Amy's been helping me try to undo some of that. I mean, 4 times for the same county, right?
Oh,
with the same number of records.
Oh, great.
No, that's not what I meant. But the sticky points, that's one of it. I think people get way too tied up with pricing. Pricing is, if you get data, not just go look at individual entries, but get data. That's one thing. And the other thing is we've really started focusing on demand and trying to put numbers to demand. I don't care about housing demand. That's not meaningful to me. I want land demand. So we're starting to try to put numbers to that and get that, because I think a lot of people focus on, they gauge demand based on how few properties are for sale as opposed to are people looking at them.
Right.
Oh, you mean just like click-throughs and
do people want them?
Right.
Well, in Zillow, you can look at views and saves, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
But looking at them individually is hard to get a picture of, how good a market that is.
Yeah.
What do you think about completed sales, land sales, as a valid indicator of demand?
I think indicator of demand, it's a great indicator of demand, but it's also, that's limited by supply. So
limited, yeah.
Yeah. There's a county in Utah, Morgan County, where I just bought a property for $5,000. I must have mispriced it when I sent it out. Because I sent out an offer for $1,200. It's 10 acres. And the guy came back and said, I won't take anything less than $5,000. Well, we looked it up. The cheapest listing is $350,000. So we went back to him and said, okay, we'll do five. We'll do five.
Yeah.
And I kept waiting for it to fall apart before we closed on it. Kept waiting. So we're going to list it at about 190.
Perfect.
That's awesome.
That's fantastic.
I love it.
So you don't need many of those to realize that it does work.
Yeah. Great talking to you, Laurie. Thanks again.
Yeah, thank you.
I look forward to, we'll get you onboarded into the advanced group here really soon.
That's great. Hey, question, when does this air?
It will air tomorrow.
And then, it'll air on Wednesday next week.
Wednesday.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not tomorrow. Next week, Wednesday.
Okay. All right. Great.
All right.
All right. Well, hope talk to you guys soon.
Okay.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.